Hey, what's up, guys? Well, the Halloween is coming. I always say, well, it's horror. I'm a horror all year round guy, but it gets even more in October, and it just feels so good outside. It's not hot anymore. So, Weapons. This film has become a huge success. Made a lot of money. I actually saw this in a theater with my oldest friend and his family. His wife had heard of this film, even her, and she wanted to see it. So we went out and saw it. And it was recommended by, of course, the great Andy Nowicki, who also recommended the director's previous film, Barbarian, which I saw on his recommendation. Both pretty good movies. This film is actually really good, man. Zach Kreger, he was what is it, the comedy group that I sort of missed. I didn't like their name, and I thought it was just more hipster, like Kids in the Hall kind of crap. And actually, looking now back at this comedy group, the whitest kids, they actually were pretty funny. They were actually very funny. There's a lot of stuff that they can't do show now for their skits. And that also, in terms of filmmaking, it probably was the cheapest thing done, the cheapest show in that sort of genre done. Which obviously the director here, when it comes to horror films, I guess it was good learning ground. Doing these little essentially plays. And ironically, the guy he dedicated this film to the head guy in the troupe who died a couple of years ago, Trevor Moore. So that was interesting. But in terms of the film, right? I don't know what else I can add to what people have said. It starts out slow but builds. It has a lot of atmosphere and it builds up, sense of dread, all that stuff that Lovecraft talked about, and then it just turns into craziness. It just turns into particularly the scenes with throughout, but in the end, man, even my friend, me and him were like high fiving each other in the movie theater. It was like, yo, and of course, we saw in the theater where let's just say the locals are known for being very exuberant when they see films, and they were all like, oh, so which is always fun, actually. So, what can I add to this? Okay, I'll say one thing. One thing this is not, and I'll mention three things about it. Okay, one thing it is not. Okay, it is not about. It is not a condemnation or a metaphor for school shootings. Okay, it's not. Okay. There's a dream sequence where there's something seen in it, and there's all the idea of something happening at a school or whatever. A certain place I won't mention. They got Mr. Jones in trouble. None of that. None of that in here. If anything, the tool in question it comes in very handy at the end of the film, particularly for the heroine. Okay? Um, I guess I could say that that's what this film is not. So what I'll mention three things about the film that I liked a lot. I liked how I liked how it made the creepiness of just the way the camera was used. Okay, similar to It Follows, another Nowicki recommended film, where it's the creepiness of just shots of just nothing. And I don't want to say nothing of like houses or nature or ponds or just something that you see every day. But the way it's shot, it's just eerie. It has an eeriness, an atmosphere all its own, and that you wouldn't even need, to add any creatures in it, and you would feel like this creepiness. That's the camera. Okay, that's the camera work. Particularly, another thing I liked about the camera work in this was the focus. A lot of times, there's scenes where like the thing is not in the main focus of the camera. Particularly the scene where one of the characters is staking out a house and the character's car, and you see some thing or some person walk by. The way it's done, I was like, oh hell no, very creepy. Okay, because it's not in the main focus. Okay, you see it like on the side. It's really well done on a technical angle. Um, the other thing I like about it, and sort of related to the thing it's not, has none of that stuff we don't like in it. Has none of that stuff we don't like in it. The high on the progressive stack list is a couple represented in this film, and there's no mercy for them or anyone in this film. And the the well, I don't want to give away the source of this phenomenon. I guess you say the villain. I'm not even going to bring up anything about the villain, the nature of it. I want you to see the film. I don't want to give anything away, but very surprising, very surprising. Not only in who the villain is, but when you see the villain in a certain persona that is shown to the world, they come off as very, very. I don't know how to say this. Um, Somebody from Florida, or somebody from where I grew up. It came off very much like that, very interesting. So, um, and I guess the third thing I'll say about this film is just like I said, the intensity, the craziness of it, the idea of the certain another trope that is used often of like it's creepy to have like kids be like all like the whatever like the villain or like the creepy kids in the film are always disturbing, and of course the logical conclusion of course obviously CGI allows you to do to use. Well, you'll see the ending. I don't want to give away the ending. It was like holy crap, dude. So and it was fun. It was a fun film. So and all right. So I guess that's what I can say about it. Recommended. Two things I'll add. One is a little nitpick. Film is supposed to take place in Pennsylvania. I noticed the license plates were all PA plates, right? But it couldn't be. It looked like Pennsylvania, right? But it couldn't be Pennsylvania. The character at one point goes into like a mom and pop owned liquor store. If you were in Pennsylvania, you wouldn't have that. They only have state stores here. I think going back to Prohibition, the state of Pennsylvania runs the liquor stores. So, fine wine and spirits, of course. So that was a little, I guess, not a big deal. Only people in Pennsylvania would know that. It was filmed actually in suburban Atlanta, and Georgia looks a lot like Pennsylvania, to be honest. And the other thing, and I'll wrap it up with this, and this is a little more in the vein of stuff I talk about in terms of, I don't know, horror journalism. So you have journalism, you hold your nose, and then you have horror journalism. But anyway, this film, I mean, unless I'm mistaken, now it's been mentioned on the websites of course, Fango and Rue Morgue. Okay, but in terms of the print Rue Morgues and I believe Fango. I looked through it. I can't buy Fango anymore. Rue Morgue at least is a worthwhile magazine in spite of itself. No mention of this film. No mention of this film at all. Okay, no mention of this film at all, and I'm trying to figure out why. I don't know why. Um, Zach Cregger's first film, Barbarian, he even says, "Oh, it's about misogyny and has a male. I don't know what it's like to not, to not be in danger," which is like the majority of your victims of violence are still men. But whatever, you gotta say those things. But it didn't seem to impress many of the feminist reviewers. One in particular had like a real problem with her, as if how dare you bring up this thing, even though you're trying to have the right view on it. Who are you to even bring that up as a man? I remember reading that, and I was like, wow, you couldn't even give this guy credit when he's deferring to your beliefs. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I'll tell you one thing. Uh, Unless they had a preview of this and didn't want to review it in the magazines, they definitely would not like this movie. Especially for the villain in it, but also the way since they had they made such a big deal about the gay couple in Halloween Kills, being killed like everyone else in the film, right? Isn't that equality? I'm sure they'll have an issue with the couple in this film. And just a bunch of other things too. The heroine is, she's a vulnerable woman, right? She's not a pushover, but she is, she needs help from the guy who was originally her enemy. I'll leave it at that. So it's interesting that they have omitted that film. All these stupid films, Clown in a Cornfield, all this crap they covered. And you had a sleeper film, you had a popular film, you had a great film right under your noses. And for whatever reason, you didn't want to cover it in the print stuff anyway. So Mike Gingle did review this for the Rue Morgue website, and that is to his credit, And he's an old hand in this thing, but very interesting, very interesting. Andrea, are you and your friend gonna do a podcast about weapons? Oh, oh boy! All right. I'm not harassing anybody, please. So that's weapons. Go see it. Go see it in the theater. I think it's coming out on a disc in the October. However you see these things, I recommend it. It was a good movie. Yeah, and yes, it is. It was a long film too. So, but it was when it's a good film, it's not. It's worth it. All right, later.